Mia hurried down the empty street. Streetlights flickered, casting long, dancing shadows. Each step echoed in the silence. Her phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. "Who's this?" she typed, heart pounding. No reply. Another buzz. "I see you." Mia spun around, scanning the shadows. Nothing, just the wind whistling through the trees. She quickened her pace, fear prickling her skin. Another buzz. "You're going too slow." The message was clear, and it sent a shiver down her spine. Mia's heart pounded in her chest as she glanced around the dimly lit street, searching for any sign of movement. The night was eerily quiet, save for the distant hum of traffic and the occasional rustle of leaves. Mia broke into a run. Her footsteps echoed off the buildings, a rapid staccato that matched the frantic beat of her heart. She didn't know who was sending the messages, but she knew she had to keep moving. The fear of the unknown pushed her forward, her legs burning with the effort, her breath caught in her throat. Each inhale felt like fire, and she struggled to maintain her pace. The cold air stung her lungs, but she couldn't afford to stop. Not now, not when she was so close to... what, she didn't even know, but she had to keep going. The phone felt hot in her hand, a burning coal. She glanced at it again, hoping for some clue, some indication of what to do next. The screen was dark, but she knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. Another message was coming. She could feel it. Turn left. The message flashed across the screen. Her mind raced. Left? Where would that take her? She didn't have time to think. She just had to act. She veered left, her shoes skidding on the wet pavement as she rounded the corner. Mia hesitated, glancing down a dark alleyway. The shadows seemed to reach out to her, beckoning her into their depths. She swallowed hard, her mouth dry with fear. Was this the right way? She had no choice but to trust the messages. The air hung heavy and cold. A thick fog had settled in, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. Every sound was amplified. Every shadow seemed to move. She felt like she was being watched, but she couldn't see anyone. She could have gone another way. There were other paths, other choices, but something about this one felt inevitable. Like she was being drawn to it, pulled by an invisible force. She couldn't explain it, but she knew she had to follow it. But something, a morbid curiosity, compelled her. It was as if she needed to know what was at the end of this path, no matter the cost. Her fear was overshadowed by a burning need for answers. She took a deep breath and stepped into the darkness, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The alley was darker than night itself. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the distant hum of the city that seemed worlds away. Mia's heart pounded in her chest as she stepped cautiously, her eyes darting to every shadow that seemed to move with a life of its own. The streetlight at the entrance flickered and died, casting the alley into an even deeper darkness. It was as if the light itself was afraid to venture further into the shadows. Mia's phone screen, her only light, dimmed. She glanced at it, her lifeline in this abyss, and saw the battery icon dangerously low. The screen's faint glow barely pierced the darkness, offering little comfort. Footsteps echoed behind her, slow, deliberate, close. Each step sent a shiver down her spine, the sound bouncing off the walls, amplifying her fear. She quickened her pace, but the footsteps matched her speed, never faltering. She whirred around. A fleeting glimpse of a dark figure, face obscured by a mask. The figure stood still, watching her, its presence menacing and unyielding. Mia's breath caught in her throat as she tried to make sense of the situation. The footsteps stopped. Mia, frozen in terror, fumbled with her phone, the battery icon flashing ominously. It went dark. She was plunged into complete darkness, her only connection to the outside world severed. Panic surged through her as she realized she was truly alone, with no way to call for help. The abandoned building loomed before her, a skeletal silhouette against the night sky. It was the only way forward. Mia crept through the broken doorway, each creak echoing like a scream. A floorboard groaned above. Something moved in the shadows. Mia backed away, heart hammering in her chest. Then silence. She was alone, or so she thought. A hand reached out from the darkness, clamping over Mia's mouth. Her muffled scream died in the shadows. She struggled, her eyes wide with terror, but the grip was unyielding. The room was cold, the air thick with an unsettling silence. Every sound seemed amplified, every heartbeat a drum in her ears. She could feel the presence of something sinister lurking just beyond her vision. The masked figure leaned in close, its breath hot and rancid on her ear. She could smell the decay, a putrid scent that made her stomach churn. The figure's eyes were hidden, but she could feel its gaze piercing through her. It whispered something unintelligible, a string of words that sent shivers down her spine. She tried to pull away, but the figure's grip tightened. "Don't worry," a voice whispered, low and menacing. "You're safe now." The words were a cruel mockery, offering no comfort. Instead, they filled her with dread. The voice was familiar, yet distorted, as if coming from a nightmare. She felt a cold sweat break out on her skin, her body trembling uncontrollably. The darkness seemed to close in around her, suffocating her with its weight. The hand released its grip. Mia crumpled to the ground. Her legs gave way, unable to support her any longer. She gasped for air, her lungs burning. The floor was hard and unforgiving, but she barely felt it. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear and confusion. She tried to make sense of what had just happened, but the pieces wouldn't fit together. All she knew was that she was free for now. The figure turned, facing the audience. Its movements were slow and deliberate, each step echoing in the silence. The mask it wore was expressionless, yet it conveyed a sense of malevolence. It seemed to be looking directly at you, its eyes boring into your soul. You could feel its presence, a dark shadow that loomed over you, making your heart race. The spotlight snapped on, illuminating you. It's your turn now. The light was blinding, making it hard to see anything else. You felt exposed, vulnerable. The figure's gaze never wavered, its attention fully on you. The room seemed to fade away, leaving just you and the figure. The weight of the moment pressed down on you, a heavy burden that you couldn't escape. It was your turn to face the darkness.